All right, so far we know how to move objects around, we know how to duplicate them, we know how to scale them up and down, but we really haven't talked a lot about rotating an object yet. So in this movie, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can rotate your objects inside of Illustrator. So the first way to rotate your object is actually pretty simple. It's just to select the object on screen by clicking on it, and then to use the rotation handle that appears when you get to the corner point of the bounding box around it. So as you can see here, when I select the minute hand on this clock illustration here, I actually come to the corner and you can see this little arced arrow that appears. That means I can simply rotate this object around, just like this. You can see I can rotate it around as much as I want. When I'm ready, I let it go. But the problem with that is it's anchored somewhere in the middle, so when I rotate it, it just rotates around itself, making it very hard for me to actually change the time on this particular clock. So I would have to use something like the rotate tool in order to change that, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So the easiest way, of course, is just to use the rotation handles around the object, but the more complex and more accurate way is to use the rotation tool, which is located here inside of the tools panel, and you can get there by pressing the letter R on your keyboard. You'll notice that when I select the rotation tool, you can see this little, almost looks like a little crosshair right here in the middle of the minute hand. And what I want to do before I start to rotate is just to click right here at this center point. You see when I hover over it, it says anchor point, and you may even see that it says center point at times if it crosses the center point of the circle that it overlaps. But in any case, what I'm going to do is just click right there, and that indicates that I'm going to rotate it around that particular point. Now I can come up here and I could change this to, let's say, be about 15 past the hour. Something like that. And then I can pan over. Let's do the same thing for this hand. Let's change this. So let's grab the selection tool. Select this object, grab the rotation tool, put the reference point right there, and then let's just move this down until it's pointing down at the 6. So now we've got 6:15 as the time here. Now in addition to that, you can also set the reference point to a completely different area or different shape if you wanted to. So let's say, for instance, that I wanted to create some little tick marks around the outside of this clock in order to represent the different times of day. So what I'll do here is I'll just grab my line segment tool and I'll come up to the top, and I'm going to make sure I'm dead center when I do this, and I'm just going to make a mark, something like that. Now by default, it is using a 6-point stroke. Right up here in the control panel, you see where it says 6 points? Just knock that down a little bit to like 3 points, something like that. And then hit the horizontal align center button so that it's right there, dead center. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create some copies of this and rotate it all at the same time. So let's grab the rotate tool, and let's take this. You see when I zoom in, the little reference point is right there in the center. I want you to go down here and find the center point of this circle and click right there. Now I'm going to be rotating around that center point. So as I start to drag this over, do you see how it's going to rotate all the way around that? If you hold down the Shift key, it's actually going to snap to the different positions all around the clock. So let's do this. Let's hold down the Shift key. Let's get it right here to this first mark. Now instead of letting go, hold down the Option key on the Mac, the Alt key on the PC, along with the Shift key, and then release your mouse and release your Shift key and your Option or Alt key. That is going to allow you to duplicate that. Now remember, earlier in this chapter, we learned how to duplicate transformations using Command or Control D. Well, do the same thing this time. Command or Control D all the way around this clock, giving me all of those different tick marks to indicate the different hours of the day, which is pretty simple. So, rotation doesn't have to be complicated. You just have to know how to use the tool and the right way to use the tool in order to make it work the way you want it to. Many people get frustrated by the rotation tools in Illustrator, but once you know how to move that reference point around, it's actually quite simple to get just about any result that you're looking for. All right, so far we know how to move objects around, we know how to duplicate them, we know how to scale them up and down, but we really haven't talked a lot about rotating an object yet. So in this movie, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can rotate your objects inside of Illustrator. So the first way to rotate your object is actually